To get a little nerdy, I cannot find my question. Where did I put them? Um, I have been such a big fan of yours for years. I saw you in Spring Awakening. I am I was a huge fan of It Could Be Worse.
Oh wow,
I freaking love that show.
that's a deep cut.
That is, I do feel like, yeah, that's, more eyeballs should have been on that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. It was pretty good. It was ahead of its time.
yeah, I totally agree. Something like Quinn. Um, I love this show so much. I think it's really elegant, but it's also really funny. Excuse me, I'm sick, so I might be coughing, and this is the lowest my voice has been in a minute. So,
Mazel tov.
yeah. Um, there's something about I was so thrilled. I'm like a Maisel obsessive, so I was so thrilled to see you in the last few seasons of that show. And it's sort of like what I love about you as a performer is that you really sync up with the rhythm of something really beautifully. And I think you do that. It's really cool to see you in this after Maisel because like there's a familiarity to that rhythm, but the rhythm is completely different because obviously the shows are very different. Long story short, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
yeah.
Happy to be here.
Um, I think the first time we hear about Tobias, he's mentioned before he is seen. I think it's in the swap between Jack and Genevieve, where he says that the New York Metropolitan Ballet raised Tobias since he was a pup. And I guess I wondered if you gave any thought to, I guess, what kind of relationship he had to the company and maybe how maybe you like colored that in for yourself.
Yeah, I always considered, he was a dancer first. I
Hmm.
always imagined him sort of just being in the core and never kind of
Hmm.
rising above that, but always having this sort of vision and talent. And
Hmm.
then he basically, because he was so young when he started, he had that relationship. So he was able to pop off very early in his career because he was already associated with MBT.
Okay. Very succinct. I like that.
Good.
Yeah. Um, Something also that I really love is I think the first time we see Tobias in rehearsal, I like that you were like physically in the space. Like I think there's sort of a slight running gag that the dancers are sort of almost ready to collide into you. I guess I wanted to know what maybe how you settled on like I don't say his style of choreography, but I mean I sort of like how maybe his like dancer history sort of magnetizes him to the floor, how he wants to, be in touch with everything. But I guess I wanted to know maybe how you settled on how he likes to choreograph or his style of choreographing.
Well, he wants to be close, but he also doesn't. He really likes his own personal space. So I don't think
Yeah,
he can make up his
yeah.
mind. I actually like Marguerite Derrick, who's our choreographer
Hmm.
for the show. I shadowed her for a while and I sort of stole uh she kind of weaves through her dancers and sort of stalks them like an animal,
Hmm. Oh,
their
I love that.
prey. And I
Okay.
really love that. So I stole that, but made it more introverted because she's not introverted. She's very extroverted. But
Yeah.
Tobias really lives in his own world. And so he's weaving, but then when somebody gets in his way, it's
I
true disturbance of the psyche.
love that. Well, I was actually kind of curious about like because I feel choreography or choreographing something is such an intimate thing. And I wonder, I guess you sort of answered that for me because I was curious about how like you watch somebody else choreograph it, but then like you as an actor have to have the character kind of take ownership of the choreography that you didn't really do. So I think
Yeah.
that's okay. That's really cool following her around. That's
Well, it was
I love
nice.
that.
We kind of considered ourselves like a hive mind. I mean,
Hmm.
I would have a little bit of input, but obviously
Yeah.
she's the choreographer. I'm not a choreographer, but she really felt like she was getting into my mind too. And so
Hmm.
we sort of feel like it's a synthesis of both of us.
Yeah. Okay. You're not gonna come in there with like a staff and start hitting the floor and be like, "This is what we're going to do." Okay.
Sure hope not.
No. Okay.
Second season.
Yeah. Keeps all on tenterhooks there. Yeah. Um, I there's okay, so Tobias's honesty, I think, is one of the most refreshing things I've seen in a very long time. There's some a line you have these throwaway lines. I think the first time that I watched it, I didn't even catch it, where he's so upset about what he thinks is going on with his ballet that he flies back to New York. And when the curtain drops and you're, laying into everybody, I think you say to David Alvarez, to Gael, you were like, "Oh, you were great." And Bound 2, by the way, it's sort of like these things just keep flying out of his mouth, which I think is really fun. I guess I wanted to know, I'm gonna say like most honest character you've ever played. You react so bluntly to so many things in the moment. I guess I wanted to know what that is like to play, and if there's any sort of challenge in that at all.
I mean, I was attracted to the fact that he has no censor.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I think ballet choreographers in the past, they're a little masochistic,
Hmm.
but it comes from a more conniving or duplicitous and what's the right word? Trying to get into the brains of their dancers.
Hmm.
Tobias can be masochistic, but it's just because he's very blunt. And so
Yeah.
he just doesn't have a filter. So anything that's going through his head will come right out. But I like that there's sort of there's a sincerity to it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And almost a naivete because he's just, again, he's not strategic in any way and he's not
Hmm.
trying to manipulate anybody. He's literally just expressing himself in the moment, for
Hmm.
better or worse.
I think also he has, in a way, I wondered, I was like, does he have to get this information out because he's already honing in on the next thing? That I think is sort of just like it just flies out of his mouth. I think that's a really sincerity is a really good uh word for it. It's very present. It feels very very, very
Yes.
present and in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, he lives
Yeah.
very much in the moment. And when the moment doesn't, what he's seeing doesn't coincide with what's going on in his head, it is
Hmm.
really, I've said this many times, it makes him viscerally sick. So like, everything has to sort of be aligned and kind of pure.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that makes me like that even more. I love that. Okay. I mean, you literally have a line you say, my message is never clear, which I think is a really fun line to dive into.
Well, the thing
Um,
is, but on that note, I mean, it's very clear to him, but I think the way that he communicates is so not clear to others. And it's what makes
mhm.
his relationship with Gabon so fascinating is Gabon sort of is able to tame him in a way. Yeah, he actually understands his language, and that's
Yeah.
sort of where their love flourishes.
Let's talk about Gabon because so I mean, I was a very the theater program that I took part in, there was like this weird like theater people versus dance people in our program. But like any time that I saw any of the dancers, doing what they do, I just thought it was the most impressive, gorgeous thing. And it was like, my body can't do that. Like what the hell? Um, and so I don't know. There's that wasn't even leading to really to a question, but there there was there's I think one of the times that you two are alone and you're dancing with each other, or he's dancing and you are reacting to it as Tobias does, the sort of very sharp bump up up uh way of, I guess, dancing. I don't know. I felt like this really like electric sounds so cheesy, but there's such a spark between the two of you. But I guess I don't know if maybe you can tell me if that is that attraction that on Tobias's part, is that something that like he felt immediately? Is that something maybe he had to like tamper down because, obviously the most important thing is the choreography and the dance. So I guess yeah, maybe discovering the spark between the two of you, is that something that maybe he is conscious of, or he's conscious of and he is trying to, I won't say suppress it, but yeah, I could watch the scenes between the two of you and just I don't know, like revel in the fascination that I have with the two. I don't know. I'm just rambling now. So yeah,
I don't think he was very conscious of it. I think it
yeah.
sort of it snowballed to the point where when you were in the finale and
Hmm.
he's giving that that well actually in episode 7 he's acting out because he feels betrayed by this person and he can't really he said you let me down, you let me down, but it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for him to understand it beyond that. And obviously it stings because he cares for him, but I don't know how I don't think he's truly able to articulate it. I think if he was able to do that, he wouldn't be acting the way he does, especially in episode
Mm,
7. And then I think in episode 8, in the grand finale, and he's giving that monologue, I think it's the culmination of everything. And weirdly, he's able to finally articulate his feelings on a stage in front of an audience, and then that leads to the kiss. So, but Gabon, on the other hand, I think is completely aware of everything that's going on, and
mm,
sort of what makes
okay.
them a fun pair.
There's almost this makes no sense, but briefly in my brain it made me the way that you just repeatedly say you let me down, you let me down. The way it what is I don't remember the line from Dangerous Liaisons whenever he's pushing um Cecile away from him, and I was just like he's just doing it. I don't he's aware of how he's articulating it to him. I don't know, just for some reason the theater geekery in me just picked up on
I love it.
on that. Um, I wanted to ask about the finale because that I had to keep reminding myself during that entire sequence. I was like, this is scripted. This is not. It felt so in the moment, and it literally felt so natural. And I wanted to know from you what that was kind of like in the moment to feel that because you have like hundreds of people in front of you. Charlotte Gainsbourg just screaming at you from a balcony, which I feel like is a privilege. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I guess I just wanted to know, like, because to me as an audience member, it felt so as if it was like I was watching like documentary footage almost of this happening, how that energy kind of felt in the room because it feels like a really special sequence.
It was a very special sequence. I
Yeah.
mean, well, Tobias is a live wire anyway, so it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of to what we were saying, where because there isn't he's not, there are no machinations. It's all kind of coming out. So it's like that's my favorite way to act, obviously, is just
Yeah.
going with
Mm-hmm.
instinct. I don't really like to plan much. I kind of want the text to kind of go through me and
Mm-hmm.
listen and respond. And so I like to stay, I mean, we all like to stay in the moment. That's the beauty of acting.
Yeah.
But I'll say that that whole sequence, it took us a week to shoot, and it was very
Oh wow.
moving because it was the end of it was the end of the shoot. It was our
Mm-hmm.
second leg in Paris. Uh, it was interesting when we did the monologue, especially. It was gonna first be we were gonna do it in a wide and then a close up, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And then Amy, she didn't even tell me, but organically she just decided, oh, we're just gonna do it in a oneer,
Mm-hmm.
and did. And I only realized about I guess the third or fourth take, or no, I think it was the fifth take, where I was like, wait, are we doing any other coverage? And she was like, no, we're just doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very moving to be there and then have her, who I've become very, very close with, on the other side of the camera, to
Mm-hmm.
be on a stage, kind of as Tobias, but also these were, I'm a writer on the show too, so I wrote some of the text as
Mm-hmm.
well, and reflecting on my time in Paris through Tobias reflecting on his time in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of feeling like what an incredible thing we all accomplished as a
Yeah.
company and a crew. So it kind of it hit me very powerfully in that moment, and that doesn't happen very often,
Yeah.
especially on camera. And so it was special. And then the end of that day is when we did the dance, and we got to
Mm.
watch the dance, and that dance was just so spectacular. And it was one of those pinch me moments where you're like, I can't believe this is my job.
Yeah. There's actually a moment when he's talking about his time in Paris and about how he struggled. It almost like your voice is so almost quiet that I half expected you to like realize that the people were there and you to say like this is none of your business. Like stop listening to me talk.
It's so personal, right?
Yeah.
It's funny that it becomes this confessional, and especially
Mm-hmm.
as is sort of like not one to truly connect with people. Also,
Mm-hmm.
it's the most vulnerable he's
Yeah.
the entire season. You've never seen him this vulnerable.
Yeah, even you physically getting on the stage, my husband hadn't seen it. I showed him the last two episodes last night, and it was like really late. And as you come out of the audience, like we were both, even though I had already seen it, we were both kind of reacting very verbally to what Tobias was doing. Like, no, 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 like get off the stage. Um, so at least in this household, we had a very it was a very vocal, loud
Good, I'm glad.
reaction. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, Tobias has a sort of a very we see very I want to say small moments with Cheyenne. Um, but you're on stage and you're re-choreographing with the curtain down again. Um, I guess I wanted to know really like if the thing that I love about the two of them is that they are very forward thinking. They are doing their work the way that they want to, and they both represent um this ambitious modernness to in a world that is like steeped in tradition. And I guess I don't know if this even really makes sense, but I guess if those two ever um really got together to do maybe like, I don't know, an entire ballet together or anything like that, like how would you imagine? I mean, to me, they would like sort of take over the world. I don't know.
No, that's
Did
true.
you sort of like think anything about that at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that we only have one scene together
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the entire season, but I see us as two sides of the same coin. So it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that I'm the one that
Totally.
gets into Paris and she's the one that gets into America. And obviously she's the étoile, she's the prima ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm a choreographer, so we're not exactly the same, but we're both people who are again very blunt and and honestly, it's not about ego for
Mm-hmm.
either of us. It's actually just we need to do this. We need to express ourselves and so forth. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that, he's not upset that she's the whole point, obviously, he wanted to know who's in his own ballet, and what he's upset about is that how good she is, and that he would have mapped out the dance on her body.
Yeah.
So it's not about, oh, you've ruined my
Mm-hmm.
dance, even though he might feel that way in that moment. It's just that that's not what it would have been if it was with you. And I think she has a similar impetus.
Mm-hmm.
So if second season happens, I would love to see them together again because it was also just a thrill acting with Lou. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
she's just such an extraordinary actress, and we have a very, very good time together. And again, very, very alive, which is my favorite attribute in any actor.
Yeah, they're sort of like I thought they feel like freight trains uncontrollable on parallel tracks
Yeah.
almost. And it's I always kind of like how for a brief second in the scene that you have where she's like, "Oh, I'm bad. You think that I'm bad?" And though it turns so quickly where he was like, "No, I want to basically make the ballet the best that it possibly can be," and like you would change it entirely. I thought that was a really great moment. Um, okay, I was trying to think what silly question to ask you at the end, and I guess I have two. I guess you can pick whichever one you would like to.
Okay, got it.
Um, I'm sure people are asking you what you would name the goldfish. I assume you've been asked that.
I've never been.
Um, oh, okay, well then, fine. I'll take. Yes, I'm the first person to ask that. But also for some reason, I was really hung up on the fact in that when he comes back in that tirade that we're talking about, you're like the font in the program is wrong. Um, and I guess I wanted to know if you didn't want to name the goldfish's name for anonymity sakes for the goldfish, is there an ideal font for a program?
I mean, I feel like Tobias would name his goldfish Goldfish. I don't know if he would go beyond that. And
Okay.
honestly, I'm sort of stealing that. I had a teddy bear named Teddy. I
Mm-hmm.
had a brown hamster named Brownie.
Brownie.
Again, he's quite literal, so I think he probably wouldn't go beyond that. I mean, his piece ended up being piece one, even though he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he wouldn't have named it that, but it
Yeah.
was. And then the other one is whatever this is. So yeah, I think goldfish would be the goldfish's name. And I don't know what font. I mean, Helvetica just pops out, but that's just because it's the only font I can think of at
Right.
this moment.
Okay. Yes, of course. I used to work at a regional theater box office. It was the Jiva Theater Center in upstate New York in Rochester. And we talked about getting a goldfish, and nobody nobody settled on my idea for a name. I wanted to name it Jiva Davis, but no one understood the reference. I don't know why I felt compelled to tell you that, but here we are.
I really like it. No, I
Yeah.
love puns. My dog's name is Truman Capuppy. So, um, after this great man right there,
Uh,
Truman Capuppy. So we love puns. I wrote a whole cookbook on puns and portmanteaus. So
oh my
I'm a
God.
big
Okay. Yeah, we have a corgi. Neville Longbottom is his name.
that's
So
cute.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for letting me gush like a giant nerd at you.
Oh, it was a pleasure to talk to you,
Yeah.
Joey.
I love the show. Love Amy, love Dan. Just really rooting for the show. I need like 6 seasons of it. So thank you so much for your time. And
Fingers crossed. Thank
yeah,
you very
sure.
much. I
Have a good
really
rest of your day.
appreciate it. Bye.
All right. Bye.